Hey guys, what's going on? This is RJ Game News USA here, back today with another video. And today we're going to go over the review scores for Octopath Traveler 0. A rare December game. Weird that they have it released the same day as Metroid Prime 4. It kind of makes it hard for me to be able to pick this one up right now. But I'm looking at the Metacritic scores, and it actually beat Metroid Prime 4 on Metacritic. It's got an 84 overall, based on only 31 critic reviews. We're going to go over those right now. So if you like this kind of content, like, share, and subscribe. It helps a lot. And let's go ahead and click in here. So we have a perfect 100 from Noisy Pixel, saying regardless of its genre transformation, Octopath Traveler 0 is hands down one of the best RPGs ever made. Its storytelling, characterization, soundtracks, and densely interconnected gameplay loop are a masterclass. That's crazy, bro. When I see a random game that seems good, just get 100 from somebody, sometimes it's wild what you hear. That is bombastic. One of the greatest RPGs ever? That's crazy. Saudi Gamer with 100. If there was a bestower of peak story path, then it would have been about Team Asano's making of this game. It is the best thing to ever come out from Square Enix. That's saying something, guys. GameLiner with a perfect 100. Saying Octopath Traveler 0 delivers a tight, compelling story with challenging turn-based battles and satisfying boost and break tactics, all wrapped in atmospheric HD 2D beauty. Digital Chumps with a 95 says there's little doubt that Octopath Traveler 0 is one of the best JRPGs of the year, if not the best entry in the series. Its novel additions alongside the series staples elevate it to new heights. Player 2 with a 91 says the additions made to the franchise's core, spliced with the champions of the content and the changes made to its DNA, make Octopath Traveler 0 an incredibly engaging and constantly enticing prospect. Final Weapon with a 90 says Octopath Traveler 0 delivers the series' most cohesive story yet, backed by its sharpest combat system and a surprisingly addictive town building feature. PSX Brazil with a 90 says with addictive combat and cohesive story and greater accessibility for players less keen on experimental nature of the series' other titles, Octopath Traveler 0 delivers exactly what is expected for an entry point in the series, even if you've never played the franchise. Games.ch with a 90 says Octopath Traveler 0 delivers one of the most polished and engaging pixel RPG experiences of the year. Its tactical combat, rich cast of characters, and emotionally grounded village rebuilding system create a deeply satisfying adventure. We're hearing a lot about this rebuilding system and how awesome it is. I've never really cared so much for rebuilding. It's not really been my thing. CG Magazine with a 90 says Octopath Traveler 0 masterfully transforms the once mobile game into a fully fleshed JRPG romp that feels as feature-rich and engaging as the prior console and PC releases. So yeah, I guess Octopath Traveler 0 was already out as a mobile game before. I wasn't even aware of that. Gamer.no with a 90 says Octopath Traveler 0 without a doubt is the best game in the series. And it almost sounds strange when we consider that this is a reworked, expanded version of a mobile game. Yes, there's my answer. But, guys, I think the first Octopath Traveler is the best that I played. Octopath Traveler 2 was fine, but I enjoyed the original one, and the novelty sort of wore on me a little after that. how they do things. Area Jungus with an 85 says Octopath Traveler 0 is a massive JRPG boasting amazing storytelling, gameplay, and an overall wonderful experience. New elements like the village construction mode and using up to 8 characters in combat definitely adds some sauce. Critical Hits with an 85 says Octopath Traveler 0 is a great game and would be even better if it weren't so long. I spent over 60 hours finishing it and honestly wish there was at least a quarter or a fifth, or if it could have been shortened. So, I hate to break it to Critical Hits, but RPGs take time. JRPGs can last a while, bro. What are you saying? You want something shorter. I guess if you want something shorter, go play Metroid Prime 4. Where apparently it's 13 hours to 100% scan everything and fuck around. Giga with an 85 says Octopath Traveler 0 is a rich retro-style JRPG with deep party building and charming town building system. Despite some heavy exposition and strong arcs, villains, and excellent soundtrack make it a content-packed experience. Speaking of the soundtrack you're hearing in the background is from the first Octopath Traveler. They do have a fantastic soundtrack. Turn that up a little for you guys. Maybe you don't hear it. Gamers RD with an 85 says Octopath Traveler 0 has a prequel to the franchise, keeps everything fans already love. An engaging story, strategic and deep gameplay, with a cast of charming characters. While a few elements could be more polished, it stands out as a JRPG worth keeping on your radar. PC Games with an 85 says Octopath Traveler 0 is overall a captivating adventure that impresses with its lovingly crafted world that the story surrounding the elements of Ostara. Yeah, guys, I'm hearing one thing for sure that is getting a ton of praise on this game. If you want 2 takeaways so far, the story is getting highly praised, and the feature building, or the building or whatever, is getting heavily praised. Game Surf with an 85, saying Octopath Traveler 0 is a JRPG of extraordinary maturity, capable of blending narrative, exploration, strategy, and customization into a work of rare beauty. The intense story, freedom of action, and well-tested and refined combat system. So yeah, combat system is also getting praised here. Of course, it is a great combat system they use. The Games Machine with an 85. Octopath Traveler 0 is not only an ambitious bridge between past and present, but Square Enix's most mature attempt to reconcile the mobile nature of the original project with the expectations of a JRPG for home consoles. Why have I seen this word come up 2 or 3 times already in review? Mature. What makes this game... What makes a JRPG Octopath Traveler? Why are they using the word mature? I mean, it's not like there's like a shit ton of blood in it or it's gory. But they're using it almost like it's like, oh, well, the makers were very mature by these design choices or something. I don't know why this word is getting thrown around out of context in multiple reviews. It's really weird. That's not the word I would use. RPG Fan with an 85. Octopath Traveler 0 reminds us that we chase often changes who we become. The game asks you to consider what it truly means to rebuild, whether it's a town, a life, or even yourself. Okay, guys. Now you're overboard. Now you're over the top, dude. It's just a fucking JRPG. It has nothing... You are reading way too much into your own life if that's the conclusion you come to, is that you should be reflecting on building your life based off of this game. That is ridiculous. That's over the top. It's a video game. Treat it as such. Level Up with an 85. Octopath Traveler 0 is a surprisingly solid adaptation of Champions of the Continent preserving the franchise's visual charm, memorable music, and strategic combat system. And Spazio Games with an 84, which matches the actual Metacritic score. So anytime a reviewer matches the actual Metacritic score, that's the kind of review that really can pin down what this game is. So let's see what this says. Octopath Traveler 0 is in every respect a solid entry in the franchise, even if it's not the best of the three, and it introduces a series of good ideas that we may well see again in the next inevitable installments. And then Vandal with an 83 says the aspect that will weigh most heavily on many players is the fact that it's not translated into Spanish. Oh, it just breaks your heart. Oh, Vandal's like, oh, it's not translated into Spanish. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You have to learn to speak English, bish. That's the first thing you're going to say in the review? I know I saw it, or Spazio Games mentioned it. I sort of like glazed over it. Like, I didn't even read that part of the review. But Vandal, right out the gate, bro. Right out the gate. Why are we not speaking Spanish? Oh, man. How the tables have turned. That is so funny. That is so funny that they're that pissed about it. IGN Italia with an 80. Octopath Traveler 0 is a fine addition to the series, unifying the narrative while expanding the tactical depth of its renowned combat system. It still has minor flaws here and there, but overall it is as solid as the premise suggests. An 80 sounds about right for this game, right? Doesn't it? 8 out of 10? If Metroid Prime 4 can't get better than that, why should this game? Create a Block with an 80. A clever, retro-inspired adventure with deep, endlessly absorbing combat and a superb story. Hardcore Gamer with an 80. Octopath Traveler 0 has fantastic quality of life improvements and base building elements. Cubed 3 with an 80 says Octopath Traveler 0 is a massive game with an abundance of content and exploration available. At least they're not bitching how long the game is, like some others. Every.it with a 75. Naughty. That's a very low score. Saying Octopath Traveler 0 is a prequel that does its job. It reconstructs the origins of the saga and brings the world of Ostera to the forefront with its cities, characters, and unique mechanics. However, the port from mobile to home console reveals all the limitations. Oh, there we go. We've seen a little bit of criticisms, but there's the first time we've heard that, where the port from mobile to home consoles is showing limitations. Either every.it is seeing something that the others don't, or the others aren't commenting on it. Well, you'll have to be the judge as the consumer who to believe. PlayStation Universe with 75 says Octopath Traveler 0 is a great game in its broadest strokes, but manages to miss the high benchmark that the rest of the series has set for me. The bones of a mobile game are still very much here, candied with the presentation of a console experience. So now that we're getting to the 70s, we are hearing a common theme now of the fact that because it was a mobile game, it's not quite as high quality, perhaps, as a home console release. A 75 from ZOG Go Connected says, I don't play Octopath games for the plot. This is more true than ever before the Octopath Traveler 0. The story spends several long hours being a gigantic bummer. It's bad enough to mess up the pacing and sap my enthusiasm. Holy shit! And that's a 75? You just read that like it's a 25, bro. You just shit all over the story. I literally read review after review saying how great the story was, This guy's like, no. Not only do I hate all Octopath Traveler stories, it saps my enthusiasm. But that being said, I'm still going to give it a 75. Dude, you're not speaking like you've given the game a 75. You're speaking like the game is a fucking failure. Anyway, going to the mixed reviews. Push Square with a 70. Octopath Traveler 0 is a perfectly solid installment of the Square Enix franchise, though its overwhelmingly familiarity will make for large parts of it to feel like a retread. The town building mechanic and expanded party system are smart expansions. So, yeah, retreading, you know, anytime you're like the third game in a franchise, you're going to have some retread issues, good or bad. Daily Star with a 70 says Octopath Traveler 0 will scratch that roleplay itch for gamers seeking a new challenge in the genre this winter. It is a lovely looking title packed full of hours of turn-based gameplay and a chunky world that you can turn into your own land, albeit with a fairly linear storyline. The linear storyline doesn't seem bad. Gaming Bolt with a 70 says, while its story and characters aren't the most memorable, this prequel makes up for it with the combat and abject freedom. So yeah, again, you know, when you're getting into the more lower reviews, you can see the differences here between them and the higher reviews is they're bashing the story a touch more here. The low score is from IGN Benelux with a 68, saying Octopath Traveler 0 is the perfect game for newcomers, but it doesn't quite live up to the sky-high expectations of true diehard fans. As a result, it's a pretty solid game, but not as good as it could have been. Interesting that 68's the lowest score, because if you go to user reviews, 6.8, which is the equivalent to 68, is the user score, and that's based off 27 users, and we're going to look at some of those now. We're going to see what actual users of the game are saying. Natel Monte with a 10 says, another great Octopath game. I'm 50 hours in and have enjoyed what has been and am looking forward to what's to come. This guy is clearly an Octopath fan. Fabula with a 10 says, just another peak Octopath Traveler game. Again, fan of the series, don't blame him. How about Sweeb with a 4? Now, here's why 4 is interesting. 4 is an interesting score because he's not review bombing it. He just really doesn't like the game. So let's see what he says. He says, I have to give this game a low score. Fix the audio and we'll go to a 9 out of 10. So he is really pissed at the audio here. No one's brought this up before, so I don't know if he's wrong or what. Pinhead Hell with a 10 saying, how can people review a 100-hour game in one day since release? They're just hating for no reason. Well, Guy, I would like to explain to you that reviewers get codes. Okay? I don't know if you knew this, but reviewers get codes, and so they're able to review a game, and then when the embargo lifts, put out the review, if you didn't already know. And, but how does this game compare to the other Octopath games in the series? So remember, this was an 84. So let's see real quick. The original Octopath Traveler was an 83. However, the user score was way better. It was an 8.2, about matching the Metacritic, so the user score was better. I think the first Octopath Traveler is the best game. What about Octopath Traveler 2? I'm pretty sure that's going to be the highest one. I didn't like that as much as the reviewers, if I remember right. Yeah, Octopath Traveler 2 is an 85, with an 8.4 user score. So that user score for 0 is a little low. And they're all bunched right there together. Traveler 2 is an 85. The original one is an 82. And then 0 is an 84. So I actually like the one that's the lowest reviewed. But 0 does have the worst user scores. So they're all about the same. Just pick your flavor, I guess. But anyway, guys, that's going to go ahead and conclude this video. Let me know in the comments below, are you going to pick up Octopath Traveler 0? Or are you going to wait for a sale? Let me know. And this is RJ signing out. Have a good one.